Hola a todos, hoy vamos a hablar de el género, específicamente el género de palabras en español. En español, todas las palabras están consideradas o femeninas o son palabras que están consideradas masculinas. So, words in Spanish have a gender. Now, this gender sometimes has to do with what it is. For example, I'm going to say el chico if I'm talking about a boy, okay? Or if I'm talking about a girl, I'm going to change that and it's going to become la chica. Right? Okay, so in this instance, we have el or la because over here we have a girl and over here we have a boy. So we're going to change this beginning and this ending based on whether what I'm talking about is a girl or is a boy, okay? However, that is not always the case. Sometimes words in Spanish have a gender just to help you determine whether to use el or la. So why do we need to know the género de palabras? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué es importante? Why do we need to know about this gender? Well, because in Spanish, if you want to say the word the, which we do a lot, okay, there are 4 ways to say the in Spanish, okay? So we have la or las, okay, right? Singular versus plural. Or we say el or los. Once again, singular versus plural, los. So how do we know which the to use? We have 4 different options. How do we know? Tenemos 4 opciones. ¿Cómo vamos a saber? Pues, we can determine these bottom 2 simply if what we're talking about is plural or singular. Plural o singular. Okay, lo siento, es muy difícil. ¿Es plural o es singular? Tenemos que determinar esto. Okay, so then we also need to determine if the verb, if the gender of our verb is feminine or masculine. Okay, so how do we do this? All right, well, let's start with the ladies. Ladies first. Okay, entonces, cuando estamos hablando del género de palabras, talking about the gender of words, típicamente, if the word ends in a, it's feminine. There are exceptions. There's always exceptions. Siempre existen excepciones, right? But if a word ends in a, it's going to be feminine, okay? For example, we have the word silla, which means chair, right? So because it ends in a, if I want to say the chair, I'm going to say la silla, okay? This also is important when I start describing things, but we'll get into that later. So la silla, it ends in a, I'm going to use la. I'm not going to use el silla wouldn't make sense, okay? So because it ends in a, I'm going to use la, all right? Otro ejemplo de eso es, permiso, mesa, which means table. Okay, it ends in a, so I'm going to use la. See? If it became plural, if it was sillas, then I would use las. If it was mesas, then I would use las mesas, las sillas. Okay, that's how I know whether I'm going to use el or la. Of course, there are exceptions. Siempre existen excepciones. Okay? There are not very many, but there are always some. Por ejemplo, words that end in o, some words such as mano, are also feminine. So, yo tengo 2 manos, right? So these would be las manos. ¿Sí? Tengo mis manos. Las manos son importantes. Las manos. Another example, although this one's not really a true example, is foto. So foto is short for fotografía. And fotografía, as you can see, ends in a. So even when I use the shortened form, foto, it is still feminine. It doesn't change. So it is still la foto. ¿Sí? ¿Quieres ver la foto? Do you want to see the picture? La foto. Okay. Also, some other words in Spanish that are considered feminine are words that end in dad. Okay. Now, my dad is not very feminine, right? But dad in Spanish is feminine, a feminine word. Okay. For example, in English, a lot of these words que en español terminan con dad, en inglés terminan con ti. In English, they end in T. For example, la palabra libertad. Now I know I just said dad, tad, same category, right? Libertad is la libertad. Okay? Otro ejemplo de eso sería felicidad, which is happiness, felicidad. This would be la felicidad. ¿Sí? Tengo mucha felicidad en mi vida. Y nuestro último grupo de género femenino son palabras. Oh, lo siento, I didn't mean to erase all that. So we have a, we have dad, and we have sion. Palabras que terminan en sion o con C o con S. Sion. Okay, por ejemplo, pasión. Right? Even if it's plural. Right? If this word then becomes plural, like canciones, is still considered feminine. So this would be la pasión y las canciones. See? So that is my género de, mi género femenino. So these are my feminine words, my words that are typically feminine. So now let's talk about our words that are typically masculine. Okay, obviamente, vamos a empezar con lo más fácil y lo más obvio, que son palabras que terminan con O. Words that end in O are typically masculine. Okay, por ejemplo, y ahora que necesito un ejemplo no me viene a la mente. Por ejemplo, la palabra globo. ¿Sí? Globo. Sí, globo. Este es una palabra masculina, entonces es el globo. ¿Sí? El globo. Otro ejemplo es capítulo. Sí, capítulo, which is chapter, es el capítulo. Now, if I were to make these plural, then I'm just going to change to los. Los globos, los capítulos. See? Los globos, los capítulos. So these are masculine words. Some exceptions, unas excepciones, son mapa. And don't ask why. It's just an exception, right? So it is el mapa. It is not la mapa. It's el mapa. El mapa. Okay? Otro que también es irregular es día. La palabra día. ¿Sí? Sí, hablo de el día. Even though it ends in an A, it is el día. Y obviamente, si estos son plurales, días becomes los días. Mapas, los mapas. See? So, typically if it ends in O, it is going to be masculine with a couple of exceptions. Okay? Otro grupo que también está en este género son palabras que terminan con ma. Okay? So, dad was feminine, my ma is masculine. So, ma, words that end in ma. Por ejemplo, problema. See? Okay, this would be el. El problema es. Oh, that I wrote problema instead of problema. That would be a problema. So, el problema. El problema. Otro ejemplo es tema. Tema, which means theme. See? It would be el tema. Okay, y otra vez, si estos son plurales, problemas, son los problemas. Los problemas de profe son muchos. O si tengo temas, tengo los temas. ¿Sí? Los temas que vamos a estudiar este año son la cultura de la República Dominicana y la cultura de México. ¿Sí? See? Problemas y temas. See? Now, most other words that don't end in the ways that I have pointed out, like with the o, the a, the dad, the sion, the ma, most other endings fall under the masculine category. Okay? Por ejemplo, si tengo la palabra lápiz. Lápiz, which means pencil. Okay? It is el lápiz. See? But then other words that end in Z, such as paz, are feminine. This would be la paz. See? So some words you're just only going to get through repetition and through seeing them in context. So don't feel like you have to know everything, but I just want to give you a few guidelines so that you can at least be on your way to knowing something. El último grupo, the last group I want to talk about, are words that end in ista or e. Words that end in ista or e typically describe people, describen a personas, okay? For example, artista or presidente. Now, these can actually have either in front of them. I can talk about el artista Picasso, or I can talk about la presidente. Now, some people in some areas would change this A to an A, but it is not required. It does not happen everywhere. So I can have el artista, I can have la presidenta, and I hope we do someday. But for all intents and purposes, these ones are going to depend on what gender the person is, right? So if I'm talking about Frida Kahlo, I would say la artista. If I'm talking about Pablo Picasso, I would say el artista. See? So that is el género and all of our forms of the in a nutshell. Let's look at them one more time. We have la
All
for
right,
the.
ladies and gentlemen, we can meet in the library.
Sorry for the interruption. We have las. We have el. And we have los. So look at the end of the verb that you need to say the with, and that will give you an idea of which one you need, okay? When in doubt, if you're talking about a person, la for a girl, el for a boy, and if you just don't know, stick with el. People will know what you're trying to say. There are more masculine words than feminine words in the Spanish vocabulary. So say el, and you'll be corrected, and there's nothing wrong with that.